All right, let's jump right in. If you're steering a company through the impending 2026 North American trade collision, or, you're just a commercial waste hauler trying to keep your margins breathing, this is absolutely the most critical workflow you're going to see all year. Today we're breaking down how Michael Atkinson's 905 wood Digital Refinery acts as a sentient bridge. We're going to look at exactly how it transforms highly chaotic physical waste liabilities into pristine, verified biocarbon assets, literally turning contaminated construction debris into cold, hard Canadian loonies.
Let's start by looking at this absolutely jarring financial spread. It defines the Ontario-Michigan waste corridor right now. And honestly, it is pure economic absurdity. On one side of the border, you have Ontario's punishing $189.86 per ton receiving floor, and on the other, Michigan's 36-cent per ton hole in the ground. Following the impending 2026 Blue Box collapse, this massive, gaping price delta became the single load-bearing pillar of Canadian commercial waste logistics.
Okay, moving to part 1, the I-75 trash chute. We're looking at the sheer chaos of physical matter currently paralyzing Canadian logistics.
As you can see, the numbers here are wild. A staggering 4 million tons of Canadian commercial waste just hemorrhage down the I-75 every single year. Why? Because exporting garbage is simply the path of least economic resistance. Even if Michigan pushes through an aggressive fee hike to $5 a ton, your delivered rate is still only $33 to $40. That is still radically cheaper than staying domestic. And, under the U.S. Commerce Clause, Michigan legally cannot block it from coming in.
Think about what that absurd arbitrage actually means in the real world. Over 14% of absolutely everything buried in Michigan landfills originates from right here in Ontario. But let's be perfectly clear about something. The geopolitical patience for this trash chute is rapidly collapsing. Relying on this loophole is a massive, ticking structural liability for any Canadian firm.
Which brings us to part 2, tariffs and the capacity cliff, or the geopolitical collapse. We went from a totally stable border straight into a trade war. Let's map this out. January 2026, the Blue Box collapse forces commercial paper and wood straight into private hands. Then, the hammer drops on August 19th. We're talking severe, 50% U.S. Section 338 tariffs hitting Canadian wood exports. And if you think just keeping it in Canada is the answer, well, by 2029, the Ontario Clean Wood Ban essentially criminalizes landfilling dimensional wood, driving us at top speed into a 2034 capacity cliff where all 32 to 45 million tons of domestic clay-lined landfill capacity are completely totally exhausted.
So, let's stack those up. You combine those looming 50% U.S. tariffs with a brutal 40% de minimis transshipment penalty. Then layer on Queen's Park and Premier Doug Ford's steep $60 per ton circle levy on unverified mixed waste. Traditional flat fee disposal? It's dead. Done. This regulatory trap is an urgent financial hemorrhage, and it demands a technological lifeboat.
Enter Part 3, the Sentient Bridge. This is how we bypass the trade wall entirely.
Welcome to Explainable Compliance. Designed in a gorgeous, high-contrast industrial UI, we're talking deep blacks, crisp whites, and safety orange. This is the cryptographically verified dematerialization of physical liabilities. By converting chaotic matter into pristine data, 95 Wood leverages a digital twin, specifically an encrypted Certificate of Origin PDF. It classifies your wood strictly under USMCA Chapter 4, proving unequivocally that it is wholly obtained in Canada. You are no longer moving garbage across a border. You are moving a tariff-exempt, highly verified data object.
Now, what exactly powers this dematerialization? It is an unapologetically cutting-edge hardware and edge compute stack. Imagine deploying a Google Pixel 11 Pro, armed with a Tensor G6 chip and Android 17, right out into a dusty, chaotic demolition site. It runs turbo-quant compression and a massive multimodal frontier pipeline. We're running Gemini 3.6 Pro, Gemini 3.5 Flash, Claude Opus 4.8, Claude Sonnet 4.6, and GPT OSS 120B orchestrated through Google Gemini Vertex AI pipelines directly at the edge via LiteRT. Add an Alloy DB state persistence anchoring you out of Montreal, and you are executing complex local margin expansion right at the dumpster.
Moving right along to Part 4, the Edge AI Compliance Gate. We are doing high-speed forensic chemistry here.
The UX here is incredible. This isn't just snapping a photo. Picture an operator wearing heavy safety gloves using that high-contrast UI to execute a multimodal frame capture in exactly 2 seconds. Boom. In under 500 milliseconds, a speculative dual-model consensus engine uses those compressed LLMs to triage the wood's density and grain. Then, the driver physically holds a button, triggering the Titan M2 secure element to execute a cryptographic hold-to-seal signature. It locks in the GPS coordinates right down to the meter and seals the kernel hashes.
And here is where the forensic chemistry literally saves your supply chain. The model runs Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, directly over the raw legal text of Ontario Regulation 347. If the system detects chemical preservatives like arsenic above 2.5 milligrams per liter or lead and chromium above 5.0, it auto-rejects on the spot. It instantly pings the RPRA API to manifest a specialized hazardous carrier. You completely isolate the arsenic trap and keep heavy metals totally out of your cross-border transit.
I want to hammer home this core thesis. We do not move garbage. We convert physical matter into queryable data and data into monetizable assets. Think about it. A traditional human classifier costs up to 80 grand a year, suffers from operational fatigue, and inevitably misses dangerous materials. The Pixel 11 Pro, it runs 24/7 with zero fatigue. You drop your active compliance costs to near zero, mathematically eliminate your chemical liability, and slash your Ontario transportation insurance premiums in the process.
Let's get into the financials. Part 5, Matter into Money, Realizing Those Digital Twins. Let's talk exact math, because this is where the rubber meets the road. For a single 144-yard walking floor mothership carrying 19.15 net tons, AI classification secures an immediate 1,053 Canadian dollars in Circle Levy savings. Just by verifying the load as clean dimensional wood, you drop from that punishing $60 mixed waste penalty all the way down to the $5 clean band. If you route 200 loads a week, you're looking at nearly $11 million annually in pure levy avoidance.
We're utilizing Stripe decoupled billing at Layer 4 to generate a completely transparent 7-line invoice. It perfectly separates physical hauling costs from digital refinement value. This protects operators against volatile diesel fuel surcharges with request for quote, or RFQ, price lock automation. But crucially, the accounting logic dictates that 905 Wood retains the carbon dividend at a 100% margin to fully fund the capital cost of that L1 compliance edge hardware.
And why does retaining that carbon dividend matter so much? Check this out. When that diverted, clean wood hits the Char Technologies Thorough BioHub for high-temperature pyrolysis, it yields massive CO2 equivalents. Verified by the Operon Scientific Workspace, a single mothership can yield up to $7,660 in premium MRV carbon dividends on the Pro.Earth registry. We are literally turning chaotic construction debris into thousands of dollars of premium carbon removal credits.
All right, final piece of the puzzle. Part 6, shorting the landfill through directional arbitrage. This right here is your USMCA shield, synthesized via a 9-point certificate of origin on the reporting.905wood.com subdomain. This cryptographically signed PDF proves the wood is a strictly exempt residual commodity under HS code 3825.0. You completely bypass those devastating 35 to 50% duties. You keep the border inspectors smiling, and crucially, you keep all those lucrative processing profits right here at home in Ontario.
So pulling back, this entire highly orchestrated 9-subdomain footprint runs flawlessly in the background. From AlloDB orchestration and light RT inference at intake, to Stripe ledgers and EDI fleet routing for transport. It cross-references OREG 347 case law via RPRA APIs, mints your USMCA shield, and audits your SEER/SIL avoidance all simultaneously. This ecosystem manages producer-type profiles automatically, massively mitigating your logistics failures and cementing your firm's profitability against total cross-border chaos.
So as that 2034 capacity cliff accelerates on a literal geologic clock and the trade walls close in around us, the C-suite faces a pretty stark choice. Will you remain a passive victim of the matter trap, letting your fleet pay 50% U.S. tariffs just for the privilege of bearing physical liabilities in a Michigan hole? Or will you partner with 905 Wood, deploy the Sentient Bridge, engineer your own data-driven sovereignty, and mint AI-verified carbon gold? The tech stack is live, the math is undeniable, the choice is yours.